Donna's out of town this weekend, and when she comes back today, I'm going to surprise her with one of our special meals. It's a stuffed eggplant. I know it doesn't sound exciting. There's a story behind it I'll tell you later that makes it special for us. But so what I'm going to do now, first thing I got to do is I have to take the meat out of the center of the eggplant. I need to do that pretty carefully. I don't want to break the eggplant itself. So I get it started like this with a knife, and then what I'm going to do is use a spoon to get the rest of it out. So I'm just going to do this. I got it here, and I'm trying to be real careful. You see, I could just run the spoon up the center like this, and then when I get to the top, of course, it's really difficult to use a knife up here because of the curve. So we're going to come out there, and we're going to take this right out of the center. Now I can break some of it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it up. So I'll eat it out first. It's okay if I leave a bunch in there because I can just go back in with the spoon and get that out also. Okay, take that all out of there. There we go. All right, now we got that out. What I'm going to do next is just kind of cut it up. So my chef's knife and cut this into pieces like this. Because the first thing I'm going to do to it is I'm going to throw them in the oven and I'm going to roast it just to get it started, get a little flavor into them. So I take what I have cut up, put it in a bowl, and just going to hit it with some olive oil and a little bit of salt. Toss that around. You can see I've already had a bunch done up already. Here's the rest of the eggplant, and I'll put that here. And what I also added is, you can see I have some zucchini in here too that's already cut up. What I'm going to do also, because later when the stuffing goes in, the stuffing's basically cooked. So it won't go back, when it goes back in the oven, it won't actually have time to cook the eggplant underneath. So I'm also going to pre-cook that. So all I need to do for that is put a little olive oil in there, a little bit of salt, and we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is just put it here in the oven at 350, and I'm going to roast these until I get some nice color on the pieces and the eggplant centers are nice and soft. So when that's done, we'll be back and we'll do the rest of this. Okay, we got everything all roasted up. The eggplant shells themselves, they took about 20 minutes to get soft or so. This little mix here, this took maybe 45 or ish. It depends on how small you cut them, but that's about how long it took. What I've got here is the pan heating up. And pretty much where we're headed now is everybody into the pool. So I'm going to put in some olive oil, heat that up a little bit. And you notice I'm not really giving you much in the way of percentages of ingredients or amounts. You start with the eggplant, how much eggplant you have. Then when you're adding the zucchini or the onion or whatever, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to use 2/3 of a zucchini, or I'm going to use a half an onion or 1 1/4 onions. You just go with it, right? So you look at it, you say, well, how much do I want to put in? And that's what you put in. So I'm going to throw in here the onion and the garlic, right? I blanched and diced up, peeled and diced a couple of plum tomatoes. So they go in there too. You can see I've got this at reasonably high temperature. Next I'm going to put in some hot pepper. You can use whatever you want. If you have chili flakes, you can use that. This was a Thai hot pepper. You can use jalapeno, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then what I've got to go in with that is I've got some parsley. I have some thyme. I have some basil and some dried oregano. It's kind of an interesting thing. We grew oregano for a while, and it always seemed it was such a weak flavor. And funny, we went to Sicily, and we took a cooking class in Sicily, and the woman who taught the cooking class used all fresh herbs except for oregano. She said, nah, oregano's not so good fresh. It works better dry. So we got that all going in here, and that's got to cook down. All right, we'll let that go a little bit. And then as that's getting ready, here, like I said, I have all these veggies that we cooked up. I moved them around during the process I went in. I kind of moved them and so that they got a little bit more evenly distributed and weren't just sitting on one side the whole time. Now I'm just going to take those. I have them on parchment here, which makes life easy. I'm just going to take those and dump them in. Also makes the cleanup easy. As you can see, there's virtually nothing on this pan. So we get the rest of these in here. So I got that going. Now I promised you a story. I just remembered, I promised you a story. Why is this a special meal for Donna and I? Well, okay, so Donna and I met in community theater. And the first show that we worked on together was A Man of La Mancha. And early on in the show, they wanted everyone to meet everybody else, okay? And I had already seen Donna and talked to her a little bit. But they wanted everybody, all the crew and the cast and the producers and everything, and everyone to meet each other. So they had a cast party, and they asked. It's one of those bring your own something. So everybody shows up with chips and dip, or popcorn or something like that. But I wanted to stand out. I wanted to get Donna's attention because we talked a little bit about food. So I showed up with stuffed eggplant, which I then had to convince the host, please, can you turn your oven on and can I stick it in your oven for a little bit? So it was actually turned out to be reasonably popular, and I did get her attention. So and basically from that point on, it was all history. I guess we were married like 9 months later. So that's it. That's why it's a special meal. It's the first thing I ever made for her, and although it was at a party where anybody could eat it, I really made it to get her attention, which worked okay. All right. Now, since this is going to cook again, I don't have to cook this down into complete, everything has to be completely cooked, because it is going to cook again when it goes back in the oven later to get heated back up. So this needs a couple more things and then some tasting, okay? So the first thing is Pecorino Romano cheese. So I'm going to put in the cheese. And that gives it a nice cheesy flavor. Okay. I'm going to let that cook a little bit. So while that's cooking down, we'll take a break, and I'll come back and I'll wrap this up for you. Okay, that was only a couple of minutes. Hardly enough time for a good commercial. If I had sponsors, you would have had a good commercial. Let me taste this and see how we're doing. Heat's good. Okay, heat's good. Salt's good. Not worth fooling around. So all I'm really going to do now is add a little bit of breadcrumb as a binder. Not all of this. I just put this out. I'm going to add it a little time until it starts to come together. Don't want it to have a lot of, I want to be able to make a kind of a nice stuffing out of it, really. So that's what the breadcrumbs for, is to give it that consistency of a stuffing. That should be enough. So now this is done. And we can put it in our eggplant. Just put it in here. Very colorful, as you can see. What's going to happen with this is I'm just going to put it off to the side. That's one of the nice things about it. You get it all ready in advance. You just put it off to the side, and when it's time to serve, you heat up the oven again to about 325, and you stick this in until it's heated through. And it comes out just great. So we'll do that later after Donna gets home. So thanks for joining me for this part, and we'll serve it up later. Donna's back home from her trip. She has gone upstairs. She unpacked. She has seen the eggplant, and so it's time now for us to finish this up and turn it into our dinner. Now, when I made this as a vegetarian dish, just to show you it's very tasty that way. We happen to prefer it with a little bit of extra ingredient. So what I've done here is this is some Italian dried sausage. I put a little olive oil in a pan. I heated this up and I crisped it up a little bit. Now I've got it here, and I'm gonna spread this on top. If you wanted to do this from the beginning, you could also do this at the everybody into the pool stage. You could just throw it in with the onions and garlic and cook it up that way. I did it a little differently this time, and it's going to sit on top like this. We'll push it down into it. It's got the nice oils from, flavored oil from the sausage in there. So this was like I said, a dried sausage, like a salami. Okay, and then of course to finish this off, you remember I put some cheese in it. Well, now we're going to grate a little bit of cheese over the top. So now here I'm just grating a little additional of the pecorino romano over the top here. And I'm going to put this into a 325-degree oven. And it's probably going to take about 20-25 minutes to heat all the way through. I didn't refrigerate it. It was sitting out, so it's at room temperature. So I'm going to stick this over here into the oven. And in about 20 or 25 minutes, we will be ready to have dinner. So I'll see you then, and we'll see what Donna thinks of it. It's been 25 minutes, and it's ready to go. We'll let Donna give a taste here. The recipe's kind of evolved a little bit over the years. It's not exactly the way I made it back then. I've learned a few tricks and stuff, but basically the flavors are the same as they used to be. So we're going to let Donna give that a try, see what she thinks.
It's still got the zucchini and the eggplant and a little sausage, onion.
Yeah, it's hot. Just came out of the oven. Yeah. What do you want?
You still got it.
I still got it?
You still got it.
All those flavors go together nice. See? Well, so there you have it.
Delicious.
Delicious?
Yes.
So
and it is how he got my attention.
Yeah. So there you have it. You now know the recipe for the eggplant that captured Donna's heart. So 40-something years ago, I dreamt the impossible dream, and now I live it every day. Thanks very much. And I'll see you for another episode next time.